You ever have a moment in your life that hits you so hard, it literally rewires your brain? Like, one minute you think you're the hero in your own story, and the next, you're wondering if you've actually been the villain all along. That's what happened to me the day my 15-year-old daughter told me she didn't want to live with me anymore. She wanted to live with her dad. Her homeless dad. Yeah. Let that sink in. I remember that moment like it just happened. I was standing in the kitchen, holding a half-frozen lasagna, when the phone rang. It was a Tuesday. I only remember that because I had back-to-back meetings at work and hadn't even changed out of my heels yet. I answered, thinking it would be something simple. Maybe she wanted to stay an extra day with her dad. Maybe she forgot her charger again. But no. That's not what it was. She said, "Mom, I don't want to come back." At first, I didn't understand. I thought she meant she was being a brat, didn't want to do her homework, maybe trying to milk an extra night of screen time at Greg's place. So I laughed, like a casual, dismissive mom laugh, and said, "What do you mean, sweetie? You have school tomorrow." And then she hit me with it, "No, I mean, I don't want to live with you anymore. I want to live with Dad." I just froze. My brain couldn't catch up with my ears. My daughter wanted to live with a man who had no permanent address, no job, no plan, and the last time I checked, was literally sleeping in his car. It was like saying she wanted to live in a dumpster because the garbage smelled more like home. Now, before you jump to conclusions, no, I'm not heartless. I know Greg. I was married to Greg for 7 years. He wasn't always this way. When we met, he was the kind of guy who wrote me love notes on napkins and danced with me in the rain like we were in some Netflix romance. He was fun, charming, a little reckless. But I liked that. I was the planner, the structured one, and he was spontaneous. But you know what happens when you marry spontaneous? You end up doing everything. And when Alina was born, it all went downhill. I was working full-time, breastfeeding at 3 a.m., and he was still trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his life. Then came the late-night bar tabs, the missed bills, the job he quit without telling me. By the time Alina turned 7, I'd filed for divorce. I never talked bad about him to Alina. Ever. I kept it classy. But she knew. Kids always know. Still, I gave her time with him, supervised at first, then weekends. He showed up late, forgot to pack her toothbrush, once even lost her overnight at a carnival, but she loved him. Fiercely. Even when he lost his apartment and was couch surfing, she'd beg me to let him stay longer. I always said no. I thought I was protecting her. But maybe I was just protecting myself. So back to the phone call, I tried to stay calm. I asked her, "Why would you want to do that, sweetheart? Your dad doesn't even have a place to live." And she said, "He listens to me." That. Right there. That was the dagger. I didn't even finish heating the lasagna. I just stood there with the microwave beeping behind me, my hand shaking, wondering when the hell I'd lost my daughter. She didn't come home that night. Or the next. Or the next. I tried calling. Texting. No response. That Friday, I left work early and drove to every single park in the city. I knew he'd been sleeping rough somewhere, but I never expected to find them both sitting under a tree, like a scene from a movie. They had this makeshift setup, blankets, a little camping stove, a beat-up cooler. Greg looked awful. Scruffy. Gaunt. But Alina? She looked happy. She looked like a kid who had just been seen for the first time in a long time. She ran up to me and hugged me, like nothing was wrong. And then she said, "Don't freak out, Mom. I'm safe." I didn't yell. I wanted to. But something in her eyes told me she wouldn't hear me. So I just said, "Why? Why would you want this?" And she looked at me and said, "Because with Dad, I don't have to be perfect." I'll admit it. That one hurt. Because I never told her to be perfect. I just expected it. She had straight A's, was in ballet and honor society, and I guess I got so caught up in being proud that I forgot to ask if she was happy. Then Greg jumped in. He said, "She's been hurting, but you've been too busy to notice. She told me she feels like a failure around you." And that's when I lost it. I turned on him and said, "Oh, and you're such a shining example of success? You're literally living under a tree." He didn't even flinch. He just said, "At least I'm present." And that shut me up. Because as much as I hated hearing it, he was right. I had buried myself in work, in stability, in control. I thought I was doing it all for her. But maybe I was doing it for me. A few days later, after Alina still hadn't come home, I searched her room. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed answers. And that's when I found the journal. It was leather-bound, tucked in the back of her closet under a pile of old stuffed animals. Inside were pages and pages of her handwriting. Some were just lists, things that made her anxious, things she wished I'd say. Others were darker. One page had a drawing of her in a glass box while everyone else lived life around her. Another said, "I don't know who I am without achievements. I feel like I have to earn love." I cried for an hour, sitting on her bed, reading those pages. All this time, I thought I was giving her everything I never had. But maybe what she needed was something I never even thought to offer. I went back to the park a few days later. Brought food. Blankets. And sat down with them again. I told her I'd read the journal. That I was sorry. That I didn't know she was feeling that way. And then I did the hardest thing I've ever done. I told her she could stay with her dad. Not because I wanted to give up. But because I finally realized. I had already lost her the moment I stopped seeing her as a person and started seeing her as a project. It wasn't easy. I got CPS involved to make sure she'd be safe. I found a local transitional housing program and practically begged them to take Greg in. Got him a spot. He's in a one-room unit now, barely more than a shoebox, but it has a door, a bathroom and running water. Alina has a mattress on the floor, but she says it's the first time she's felt like she can breathe. We do therapy together now. Every week. And little by little, she's letting me back in. Last week, we were sitting on a bench after our session and she told me something I'll never forget. She said, "I didn't really want to live with Dad. I just wanted you to notice me. And this was the only way I knew how." I asked her why she didn't just tell me outright. And she said, "Because every time I tried to talk, you were already planning your response." Oof. Yeah. That one still stings. But she's right. I was so busy trying to fix, control, manage, parent, that I forgot to just listen. Now, we're rebuilding. It's not perfect. I still mess up. I still want to fix things when she vents. But I'm learning. And Greg? He's trying too. He got a part-time job at a grocery store, and for the first time in years, he's sober. He told me he wants to do better, for her. And I believe him. Do I think she'll live there forever? Probably not. But right now, she feels safe. And honestly, that's all I ever wanted. So yeah. My daughter chose her homeless father over me. But it wasn't about where she was sleeping. It was about where she felt seen. And I had to be completely shattered to understand that. If you made it this far, thank you. Really. I know this was a lot. And now, I want to ask you something. What would you have done if you were me? Would you have fought harder to bring her home? Or let her stay with her dad like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm listening. Really. Because sometimes, that's all someone needs. Just to be heard. Thanks for being here.